Hello, my name is Martin Grasser from ManRepeat. We are a studio that makes all types of things. We are most interested in type design and building tools for typographic abstraction. We are located in Northern California, but we collaborate with people from around the world. And today I'll be talking about typography as abstraction. I wanted to start with some context and chat a bit about how some of these ideas came to be. We agree that the symbol on the left represents the sound T, but you only have to look as far as another language to realize that this is only an agreement. So we start by recognizing that all type is abstract. I was also inspired by a random talk, much like this one, by Paul Fry on linguistics, specifically about Russian formalism. He spoke about the ideas that Victor Shklovsky and Roman Jakobson put forth, promoting the specificity and the autonomy of poetic language in literature. And what I took that to mean was that form alone was enough. We can find meaning in form even if it doesn't communicate with us the way that we're used to, with letters. And finally, I was inspired by this idea that art is good for people and that type can be a way into understanding or interacting with art and abstraction. So often people need to experience something to begin to relate to it and to understand it. Type can offer that. It encourages people to interact. Today, type truly is everywhere, and for the first time, the public has access. They are all using it all the time in interesting, expressive ways. We send countless text messages to each other. We Google things we want to learn about. We write papers and capture our thoughts in word processing software. And we share our life and things we love on social media. This explosion of accessible digital typography has led to the creation of a user-driven typographic vernacular. Here we see Impact, a sans serif designed by Jeffrey Lee in 1965, well before the advent of personal computing. Today, it has become ubiquitous in a digital context for its use in memes. In 2017, Ryan Gosling hosted SNL and performed in a sketch making fun of papyrus. Regardless of your thought on the font, the idea of SNL running a sketch about typography would have been a non-starter in the past, whereas now type occupies enough space in culture that this kind of thing can make sense. And here we see Kanye getting emotional over fonts and of course using type to express that, in this case via Twitter. On the professional side of things, type designers have created fonts designed to respond to and function in these digital contexts. Adrian Frutiger's OCR-A and OCR-B, drawn in 1968, adhere to the standardized optical character recognition guidelines. So it's machine readable, but also legible to the human eye. OCR-A is a bit more extreme, whereas OCR-B is an attempt at something closer to a, quote, normal font. Chicago by Susan Kerr was a system font on early Apple computers. Its style informed by screen resolution constraints, it became an important part of Apple's identity, and even the first iPods used Chicago. And of course, Immigré were really pioneers of digital type design and kind of mashed up traditional typographic forms with dot matrix and bitmap digital vernacular. This is matrix where you can really see that collision come together. And we couldn't resist either. In 2018, Zrinka Buja Basic and I designed 188 Sans, a grotesque that moves between resolutions. The function of these responses has always been a combination of technology, legibility, and communication. Even today, we see a mixture forming that utilizes technology towards efficiency. I'm on my way home. Great, thumbs up. But we're interested in something different, typography as abstraction and the creation of digital tools to facilitate this exploration. The first project we want to share with you today is the color dot font. The color dot font is as simple as it sounds. A typeface composed entirely of colored circles. Here is a look at the simple mapping. Each letter gets a corresponding color dot. And when you start translating, the results are simple, graphic, and interesting and intriguing. And we were really interested to see what this looked like when we applied scale. So we built a browser plugin that sets the default typeface to the dot font. Arsh, who will join me on the Q&A, will be able to answer any questions about the build of the plugin. When you turn the plugin on, it translates all text into color dots wherever you go on the internet. Here we see the Google homepage, abstracted yet totally recognizable. Here, obviously, the Craigslist homepage set in the color dot font. And something that's interesting about this, and that's interesting about the dot font in general, is how recognizable a lot of things are, even when you remove the language. Craigslist as a site is almost totally composed of language, but you recognize it even when the language is subtracted. There's a structural element to the site that makes it a dead giveaway. So we have this structure that becomes apparent when you see the site set in the dot font, and you probably wouldn't register that same structure when you can read the website. In that way, the abstraction makes things which were invisible visible. Same thing with a baseball box score. There's a structural construct here that if you're a baseball fan, you know this is a baseball box score. You might not know how many RBIs the cleanup hitter had or which pitcher pitched which innings, but you know that you're looking at a box score. And finally, here's the homepage for Domino's Pizza, and you see a whole different kind of structure, the loud, chaotic vernacular of advertising. We really love seeing the dots with that extreme drop shadow in the pricing here. It's interesting to see the CSS styles applied to the dots so dramatically. And while the previous examples have all been digital, in the interest of seeing the font in a physical context, we printed up some copies of the October 10th, 2019 issue of the New York Times, set entirely in the dot font. No images, just paper and colored dots. In this image, you can see the gaps of where the pictures would have gone and some of the other components the Times uses. Headlines, captions, body copy, a pull quote centered in line with the columns, and also rules separating the various articles and sections. And here's a portion of the back page, which was a weather chart and financial information. With all these projects, we really want to not just entertain ourselves, but to see how other people use the tools also. If you find any of this interesting or it resonates with you, you can download the dot font and the dot font plugin from our website at andrepeat.com. The second project we want to share with you is the Abstract Type Generator. This tool enables users to create typefaces by manipulating a number of parameters. The Type Generator project essentially picks up where the dot font left off. We thought if type can be colored circles, what else can it be? And the answer is really anything. So we constructed a tool that allows users to pretty much make any kind of abstract typography that they can imagine. This level of participation was super exciting to us, and the real-time feedback between the slider on the left and the alphabet on the right and whatever a user typed in the center, it felt like something that would get people interested enough to give it a try. Visitors can control anything from the color in a variety of ways to size, tilt, and even resolution. And where the dot font was interesting in large part when set in various contexts, this project is less dependent on context. This is more about the visitor just making type as out there and as graphic and as abstract as possible. This project was built in collaboration with Arsh and Santi, who will be on the Q&A portion and can answer any questions about the build. The first set of parameters deals mainly in color. This is where our focus was on the dot font, so that's kind of where this starts. You can control the hue of the typeface you create, as well as the saturation, and finally the lightness. We love the way this looks as it dances around in the color shifts. Following that, there are some controls built in to deal with the form of the geometric shape. So the first of these is size. You can scale the letter forms up and down as you want and have them in a different range of sizes. You can make them all small or large, for example, or create a range where the user sets the extremes. And there's tilt. If you're controlling polygons, you can alter their angle. And the side section gives you the option of choosing circular forms or polygons with a range of shapes available, triangles, squares, pentagons, and so on. And the resolution is another interesting tool you can use to change the look of your font, which generates even more interesting results for words, sentences, and paragraphs. Here we see the quick brown fox text laid out, justified left, and we're pulling the resolution down. We love the ripple effect. The letters shift the words shift the sentence, and the shape of the communication is altered. And finally, the paragraph settings allows you to arrange your type in a number of ways. Here we see left justified and of course centered, and right justified are also available. We played with vertical justification, allowing users to set type from top down, bottom up, or vertically center their type. We also reimagined what a sentence could be when it was set in a circle. If we can abstract a letter, it felt right to push on words, sentences, and paragraphs. And finally, we look at typeset in Z-space, layering letters on top of each other from back to front. This is an example that shows a sentence typed in Z-space with the resolution pushed all the way down. It's great to see the way the letters affect each other as they pile up. And this shows you what you can build. Here's an example of a typeface we built on the Abstract Type Generator, downloaded and added to our font book. As with the color dot font, if this is interesting to you, please feel free to visit our website at andrepeat.com and give it a try. As for what's next, we have some pretty interesting things going. Upcoming projects include experimenting with transforming images into typeface and type into sounds. We thank you kindly for your time. If you need more information or wish to sign up for our mailing list, please visit AndRepeat, or if you want to say hi or have a specific question, feel free to email us at info@andrepeat.com. Thank you.
Okay, great. Type text identity is a curatorial selection showcasing the latest, most innovative developments in both typography, posters, and kinetic typography. The exhibition looks at the language and its notions, so typography, both in the semantic, as the meaning of the word, and the visual, so word and letter as an image areas. Referring to its title, Identity, the exhibition surveys whether the specifics of languages we use determine our identity. Using different language systems as a starting point, the exhibition considers the ways in which communication, which constitutes the basics of our coexistence in the society, is approached in various cultures. And the project hoped to examine the many writing systems, including experimental language recording, in order to provide a study of our modern visual language and consider the possibility of forming an universal language. By surveying the challenges arising from the many recording systems, the exhibition will question the possibility of developing the type of auxiliary language that can become the language of the future. The exhibition presents 170 objects of art, such as posters, works of paper, and displays of kinetic typography. On the VR gallery, you can see mostly posters. The display's concept refers to contemporary forms of communication. The works were hung in a style well known from Instagram, so the form of the exhibition itself is equivalent to how most people view pictures today. As you can see on the presentation, they were quite similar to the way we view images every day. The exhibition could be treated as a type of a subway journey, during which we see flickering images through the windows. But in many moments, we can get off and look at some images closely. I believe that this is communication today, and that in the avalanche of visual messages, the viewer's task is to make their own selection, their own choice with regards to the messages they respond to. An important element of the exhibitions are letters in motion, known as kinetic typography. You can see you will be able to see some of them in the end of this presentation. More about the cooperation. Now I would like to say some words about the collaboration with Typomania. So while composing the exhibition, we got in touch with the Moscow Typomania Festival. The organizers of the festival replied immediately, saying that they would be very happy to lend some of the works Agnieszka selected from their collection and offered their cooperation in the entire process of preparing the exhibition in Łódź. Thanks to the kindness of our friends from Moscow, we introduced a selection called Wise Posters to our exhibition. To give you more context, the Typomania Festival in Moscow has developed a wisdom generator, which can be used to get wise advice. The participants of this special poster project were asked to create posters based on the randomly generated phrases. The exhibition displays works by designers coming from diverse cultures and using different record systems. In addition to the Latin script, you can see Cyrillic, Chinese, Yiddish, Hangul, or Hindi used in the works. Of course, I realized that it might be impossible for the audience to read the messages written in the system, others than the ones they use. And so I have asked, Agnieszka asked the colleagues who use the particular systems to describe the meaning or talk about the details of some of their works. You could see this in the video. For example, she received a great explanation from the colleague from Dubai who sent an explanation about the works which use Arabic. He said that the works by Nasar Mansour, entitled Basmala, is a representation of a sacred script. The unique feature about this work is that the author is using a script that has not been used for more than 500 years. Muhakkak is one of the main 6 types of calligraphic script in Arabic. The Arabic word muhakkak means consummate or clear, and originally was used to denote any accomplished piece of calligraphy. Muhakkak was an early term which captured care, clarity, and meticulousness in calligraphy. It was associated with the making of manuscripts of the Quran, a sacred task and one which helped to give the new Islamic order both identity and coherence. We were told also a story about the typographic amulet. An amulet, similar to a talisman, is an object that is imbued with protective powers, and all cultures and faiths have manifestations such as objects. In Islam, they bear sacred inscriptions and religious narratives. Many people believe that an object that is inscribed with the word of God will protect the person who reads, touches, or sees it, and that the word of God has the power to ward off evil. Amulets usually covered with prayers, signs, numbers, and decorative motifs. The work is in an attempt to view an amulet from a typographic perspective. It shows the transition from traditional to contemporary and from vernacular to typographic. The composition of other work is based on the use of the Tulo script, but with a contemporary twist. The author combines 2 calligraphic practices in his work, namely the traditional calligraphy and the Karmalach practice, which explores the qualities of letters before the execution of the final work. The Tulo script is one of the main Arabic and Islamic calligraphic styles. Tulo means 1/3 in Arabic, and its script was the first developed in the 11th century during the Abbasid dynasty, and was further refined during the Ottoman dynasty. The typetext exhibition explores the many methods of typographic communication across different languages and cultures. I hope that perhaps not despite, but rather thanks to the multitude of languages, it shows the deeply rooted mutual understanding beyond all borders. Thank you very much for hearing my presentation. I would like to now encourage you to ask questions in the chat box, and me and Agnieszka will try to answer them. Okay, I don't see any questions coming, but I will wait one more minute. Um, Now on the screen you can see our kinetic typography from the exhibition. Okay, if we don't have any questions, then I would like to personally and on behalf of the whole team, thank you for listening to our presentation. And we hope that you will explore the typetext project by yourself, joining the VR exhibition or watching Facebook pictures. On the screen, you can see the kinetic typography, and we will give you time to just enjoy it. Thank you so much.